On a clear day, the view from Staten Island is unrivaled, but the island's very position is its vulnerability. It's here that the death toll from Superstorm Sandy was highest. The surge was so strong that floodwaters ripped homes from their foundations. Help was slow to arrive, say locals. There's still so much work left to do.
The severity of it was crazy. I don't think anybody could understand the magnitude of this thing, especially what it had done to the buildings. So a group of architects from the local AIA went down to the buildings department to see what we could do to help out. There were buildings that had collapsed, buildings that were just washed away, and we knew that they were going to be sending out inspectors to help people and analyze and see what was going on with their homes. And I do remember walking through some of these neighborhoods where I'll never forget it. There was this one woman that had, asked me not to condemn her home. There was a system of 3 stickers that we were putting on their houses: a green, which was meaning it was okay; yellow, meaning that it had like some minor damage, like mechanical things; and then red, which was you can't go back into the house. And some of these buildings were just knocked off their foundation. It was the craziest thing I've ever seen. And I'll never forget, as I was about to say that, there was this one woman that was begging me not to put a red sticker on her house. And she said, "Look, this is my home. I've been here forever. Please don't condemn this." And I told her that, I said, "You can always get a new home, but I can't send you back into the house because if something happened to you, you can't replace you." So she reluctantly moved along after we had done that. So I heard about there was some kind of a lecture, I believe it was done at NYU by one of the professors. I think it was an environmental professor from Pratt Institute. And I can't recall exactly how he got a hold of us or got in touch with us about this, but I had heard that, or we had heard through the AIA that that these 2 engineers were going to be coming in from Hawaii, that these guys they're kind of like code specialists, and when an environmental issue happens, they analyze it and help to rewrite building codes so that these things can be resisted in the future. And he had contacted us and wanted to tour the area. And so these 2 engineers from Hawaii came with him, and we took them around a tour of the devastated areas, Oakwood Beach and Fox Beach Drive area, where the homes were, they were absolutely destroyed, gone. They weren't even, I think one home, the only thing that was left was the front stoop. So that whole day we spent taking these engineers around and showing them what the effects of this particular storm was. Actually, they explained it to us because none of us had really been down there to see what happened.
All the water goes out, comes in, and then when it returns, it's almost like when you have your foot on the beach.
Sure, you feel
and
rushing
all
underneath
of the
your feet.
wave washes, and then your feet sinks in. That's what's happening here. All the sand around here got washed off.
So do you think
washed away?
Do you think that undermines foundations and houses?
Yes, it does. Scour undermines houses. It's just like when the water, anytime you have water coming in and then rushing out, if there's any obstacle in front of the back of the flow, it'll scour out, around it. So that's what's happened here. Because like Randy said, it used to be right here, right?
Yeah, you couldn't see any of that footing there.
Yeah, that's why it's all tilted.
Staten Island architects really rose to the occasion due to this storm. We developed, along with Mr. Bob Englert, who's the city architect, the borough architect actually, a program called Staten Island Quick Start. It's actually, I believe it was the idea of James Molinaro. And what they did, or what we did as a group, was to go around and offer opinions to these people who had their homes destroyed or partially damaged as to what they could do. And it became a way of telling them what they had to do and what agencies they needed to apply to either rebuild or tear down. And there was a bunch of programs and things for that. There was a demolition program, and there was a couple of city programs that came in and got people up and running and got roofs over their heads by coming back and installing their heating and electrical systems. But the Staten Island Quick Start idea was totally Staten Island AIA worked. And there was about maybe 15 or 20 guys that participated in that program. And like I said before, the program was about going out and assisting folks into figuring out what they had to do. I mean, the confusion and the devastation was beyond description. And to have somebody, a professional there, I don't remember how many people thanked me. They couldn't believe that we were actually coming down there to help them. You know, this is an example of architects in action. So I reached out to Leticia Romaro. She's the chairwoman of Community Board 1 and was very active in this relief effort and helping to organize. There was a lot of people helping to organize stuff, but she was one of the people that was mainly driving it. And she introduced me to Derek Tobacco, who was, I think he's like a Wall Street, I think he works on Wall Street, and I think that's what he told me. But he actually asked for time off from his boss so that he could help out with this thing called Guyan Rescue, which is at the end of Guyan Avenue. And that part of the island was just, nothing was standing after the storm down there. Derek Tobacco, who's the coordinator here, the head guy on the Guyan Rescue Relief.
Basically, 4 weeks ago, we came down here to the Guyan Beach community that was affected very badly from the hurricane. And we set up a couple of tables and a tent to try to bring some needed goods and supplies to the neighborhood. Some brooms, shovels, mops, some hot food, a cup of coffee. And we put it on social media, we put it on Facebook, where we were located at 402 Guyan Avenue at the time. And the outpouring of support from the Staten Islanders was absolutely amazing. People just started showing up with anything that we posted. We needed shovels, brooms, gloves, sheetrock masks. At the time, there was no gas or electricity. We needed blankets and flashlights and batteries and things of that nature. And the Staten Island community just started showing up, truckloads, carloads. And after 24 hours, we had about 10 or 15 tables set up, and we had more supplies than we could give out at the time. And now our next phase will be rebuilding, which is we're trying to get mold companies to donate their time to come in and demold some of these houses to check the quality of air. And also the next phase after the demolding will be rebuild. So we're asking the Home Depots of the world, Lowe's, companies like that to supply us with sheetrock, insulation, flooring, nails, taping goods, paint, anything that will help rebuild these houses that have been devastated. It seems that the first floor of most of these houses have been flooded, and the rebuild stage is next.
You know, I wanted to thank you for, taking the AIA around here, because it's very important that we try to get people information. And I was telling you about the Staten Island Quick Start program.
Right.
We only began this and got it approved from the borough president about a week ago.
Okay.
So what we're doing is we're going to come down and we're going to give you guys the information so that everybody that wants it can call the borough president's office. The website and the phone number will be there, and they can have teams of architects from the AIA here on Staten Island. So all local guys come down and evaluate their buildings in terms of what they need to do to file with the buildings department. They're going to give them all the information. It's free of charge. So we met up with Derek, and I asked him if he would take us on a tour. Myself, some other members of the AIA, there was Ron Schiffman from Pratt Institute, and the two engineers. And we walked down the street together looking at the different conditions and the different wrecked buildings that we passed one after another.
Also, these concrete piles right here, you can see, were probably here before, and then they looked like they filled in the block walls there.
And then also the necessity to set it up above the floodplain elevations. And these are at 2-3 feet off the ground. They should be about 9 feet off the ground, 10 feet.
Not high enough.
Not high enough.
Yeah. Let me just get a picture here.
But the same way we're having this conversation,
there hasn't been a politician or a FEMA rep down here that's had
Yeah.
this conversation with us. They don't know. They go to a town hall meeting where everybody screams at them, and I don't know what they get accomplished.
Well, we'll bring this to the attention of the borough president's architect, and he's also a member of our organization. He's an architect, so we're going to talk to him about that from
Right, Letitia,
Yeah.
who got me in contact with you, she called me the other day from Olive Narrow's office, and she was asking me to refer people, to the center that they have set up on Highland Boulevard.
Right.
And I told her, please come down here and answer questions. And she came down yesterday,
Right.
like I'm asking you
Oh,
guys
okay,
to do.
yeah.
And she answered a ton of people's questions and put them in contact with the right phone numbers.
Architects from Staten Island AIA attended many meetings with the city, Borough Hall, and FEMA, which actually had set up a command center in the Borough Hall building to deal with the claims and help people to get the resources they needed to get back in their homes as quickly as possible. We were looking at winter, and it was described to me by the borough architect, who's a friend of mine, that we had a triage situation here, and there was no such thing as a day off. So we all kind of put our boots on and hit the ground running. Some of the discussions we had with the mayor's office were like waiving any filing issues that would, for the most part, in a normal situation, keep these approvals from happening fast. And we tried to streamline some ideas with them to take care of the situation. Staten Island architects were instrumental in helping people recover from Superstorm Sandy. Through the Quick Start program, architects from Staten Island AIA went out and helped people with the forms that they had to file for different work types, and generally assisted them with letters. And some of these letters actually went to some insurance companies that helped them recover some of the insurance money that they needed to repair their homes. And walking through the devastation with these engineers was an eye-opening experience for us as architects on the island here, where we could reach out into the community and help these ideas for the recovery start to ferment and take shape. Later on, the codes and the zonings in some of these areas would have to be examined in detail, and Staten Island architects were instrumental in starting that process and participating in some of those ideas and concepts.